Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with a strange feeling that you weren't alone? Like something or someone was just watching? Maybe you heard a whisper, but there was no voice. Maybe you saw a still figure standing at the edge of your bed and convinced yourself it was just a dream. But what if it wasn't? What if that moment wasn't just in your head, but a visitation? Welcome back to Esoteric Legends. Today we're stepping into a realm that's hidden in plain sight, a dimension that floats just beyond what we call reality, a place made of thoughts, dreams, fears, and spirits. This is the astral plane. Mystics, occultists, and seers have been talking about it for centuries. It's not just fantasy or metaphor. It's been described in obsessive detail by some of the most influential esoteric thinkers in history, and it's not just full of light and guidance. It's also home to some truly terrifying entities, beings that lurk in the shadows of your subconscious and feed off emotions you'd rather not face. In this deep dive, we're going to explore the darkest corners of the astral world. We'll break down the origins of its most frightening creatures, what they really look like, how they connect to our waking lives, and most importantly, how to protect yourself. Let's begin. In technical esoteric terms, the astral plane is a subtle, energetic layer of existence, composed of a kind of ethereal matter that responds intensely to human thoughts and emotions. It's often called the second sphere, or simply the astral world. Legendary occultists like Helena Blavatsky, Aleister Crowley, and Dion Fortune all agreed on one thing. This dimension acts like a mirror. It reflects not only your individual subconscious, but also the collective emotional energy of all humankind. One of the most important features of the astral plane is that it doesn't just reflect emotions, it creates from them. Enter thought forms. Thought forms are autonomous entities that form from intense emotional energy. Think of them like psychic constructs that gain a life of their own. They start off shaped by your feelings, fear, desire, anger, and if those emotions are strong enough, the thought form detaches and becomes independent. These beings can interact with people, especially those who've accessed the astral through lucid dreaming, deep meditation, astral projection, or even powerful states of emotion. Experts like Charles Webster Leadbeater, Robert Monroe, and Israel Regardie documented these experiences in depth. According to them, the lower layers of the astral plane, the so-called lower astral, are where things get especially dark. It's here that parasitic and predatory beings dwell. And these entities, they're not random. They're born from powerful negative emotions like hatred, fear, guilt, and anxiety. Let's talk about one of the most infamous astral entities, the dweller on the threshold. But before we get there, we need to take a detour into the more carnal shadows of the astral plane. You've probably heard stories from medieval folklore, creatures like Incubi and Succubi. In those tales, these beings would slip into bedrooms in the dead of night and tempt, seduce, or violate their victims. But these weren't just ghost stories. In esoteric terms, Incubi and Succubi are very real parasitic entities that exist in the lower vibrational zones of the astral. Here's the unsettling part. They don't have physical bodies. They're energetic, shape-shifting creatures that survive by draining the life force, your energy. They're particularly drawn to people who are emotionally or psychologically vulnerable. Depression, trauma, substance abuse, or even obsessive fantasy can create an opening in the energy field, a weak spot that lets them in. The incubus is male presenting, The succubus, female. But what they really are has nothing to do with gender. They're deceivers. They appear in seductive forms. Your ideal partner, your dream lover, whatever image gets past your defenses. Then, in dreams or semi-conscious states, they initiate intense, often pleasurable encounters. But behind the pleasure is something much darker. In reality, these beings are grotesque. Many occultists, including Blavatsky, Eliphas Levi, and Cornelius Agrippa, described them as having twisted, malformed faces, glowing eyes, bat-like wings, sharp teeth, and long clawed limbs. What feels like a dream is actually an invasion. People who've experienced these encounters often wake up in a state of complete exhaustion. Some report physical symptoms, scratches, bruises, and strange marks on the skin. These aren't hallucinations. They're signs that something tried to anchor itself to the person's aura, to drain them over time. But the scariest part? It's not what they do to your body. It's what they do to your mind. Over time, victims may develop obsessive sexual impulses, intrusive thoughts, or uncontrollable fantasies that ruin relationships and destabilize their emotional well-being. It's as if the entity rewires the person from the inside out, slowly dragging them into a spiral of addiction and degeneration. Modern occultists like Dion Fortune and Robert Bruce have made it clear. These entities can't just attack anyone. They need a crack in your energy field. Depression, fear, substance dependency, unresolved trauma, these are like open doors to the astral parasites. So how do you protect yourself? Traditionally, it starts with self-discipline, emotional and spiritual hygiene. Practices like focused meditation, using sacred symbols like protective talismans, crosses, or pentagrams, and maintaining a balanced emotional life can shield your energy. The goal is to keep your mind and aura clear, stable, and strong. When your inner light is steady, it's much harder for anything dark to latch on. The bottom line, incubi and succubi are dangerous, but not invincible. They only have power where there's weakness. If you build your inner strength and stay grounded in clarity, you'll become an impossible target for these astral predators. And yet, for all the terror they bring, incubi and succubi are still external entities. What happens when the enemy is something closer, something more personal? That's when we come face to face with the dweller on the threshold. Unlike incubi or succubi, the dweller isn't something that finds you. It's something you've carried within for lifetimes. Described in 19th century occultism and made famous in Edward Bulwer Lytton's novel Zanoni, this entity is the shadow of your soul, the sum total of all your suppressed guilt, repressed fears, and karmic debris. It has no fixed shape. Its terrifying power lies in its ability to become whatever you fear most, a perfect reflection of your inner darkness. During intense meditation, altered consciousness, or deep astral projection, people report confronting this being. What they describe is often harrowing. Faces twisted in hatred, voices whispering every dark thought you've ever buried, feelings of being torn apart from the inside. This isn't a battle of fists, it's a battle of spirit. And the only way out is through. Now that we've covered the seductive horrors of incubi, succubi, and even the unsettling dweller on the threshold, let's shift gears and dive into another spine-chilling facet of the astral plane, astral vampires. Unlike the shapeshifters who prey on our emotions during our sleep, astral vampires are silent, predatory beings that siphon off our life force without us even knowing it. Astral vampires are often depicted as spectral figures, that are drawn to our most vulnerable moments, times of deep physical or emotional fatigue. Every spiritual tradition has its cautionary tales about entities that feed on human vitality. In esoteric circles, these vampires are considered very real, not merely the stuff of legend, but genuine energetic parasites that find their way into our lives during sleep, intense stress, or emotional turmoil. There are two primary kinds of these energy vampires. The first type is essentially the remnant of a soul that lived a life marked by intense negativity, cruelty, addiction, or utter self-destruction. These souls, unable to move on after death, find themselves trapped in the astral plane, reduced to a parasitic existence. They're desperate for the energy they once had, and now they feed off anyone who crosses their path. The second, and arguably even more unsettling type, are entities that have never been human at all. These are primordial beings, almost amorphous in nature, that have existed in the shadowy corners of the astral realm for as long as anyone can remember. They're often described as vaporous silhouettes or dark, shifting mists, silently stalking places where human sorrow and pain accumulate. Think about where you might find such energy: hospitals, cemeteries, sites of great tragedy, and even homes where long-term suffering has taken root. These are all hotspots for astral vampire activity. Occult scholars like Helena Blavatsky and Franz Hartmann observed that these beings are not just drawn to physical places, but are extremely sensitive to human emotion, particularly fear, sadness, and despair. When these feelings run high, the astral plane becomes a buffet for these energy leeches. The experiences reported by those who claim to have encountered astral vampires are often disturbingly consistent. Many describe a sensation of waking up feeling completely depleted, as though every bit of vitality has been sucked from their body. Some have even noticed mysterious marks or bruises, reminders that these beings sometimes leave a physical trace of their energetic theft. The encounters can lead to persistent physical and emotional symptoms over time: chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, or an inexplicable sense of being constantly on edge. Given these dangers, maintaining your energy and protecting your aura is absolutely crucial. Esoteric practitioners offer a number of time-tested techniques for warding off these dark forces. Simple yet effective measures include practicing regular meditation, visualizing a protective halo of white or golden light around yourself, and even incorporating cleansing rituals into your daily routine. Some recommend using incense like myrrh or copal, along with protective crystals such as black onyx or tourmaline, to actively cleanse your environment. Ultimately, the goal is to keep your personal energy field robust and radiant, because a strong, luminous aura is simply too vibrant for these astral vampires to latch onto. After we've addressed these parasitic life force drainers, there's another phenomenon from the astral realm that deserves our attention: the shadow people. In more recent decades, shadow people have become a fixture in discussions about paranormal encounters. Unlike the fluid and mutable nature of astral vampires, shadow people appear as distinctly human silhouettes, completely black, faceless, and often eerily still. Reports of shadow people frequently surface during periods of sleep paralysis or when someone is transitioning between sleep and wakefulness. They're also commonly reported during moments of deep depression or anxiety. The most typical shadow person is described as a tall, slender figure with rigid posture, almost like a living, breathing statue crafted from darkness itself. But not all shadow people are created equal. Some reports describe even more sinister variants, such as the infamous Hat Man, a shadow figure sporting a wide-brimmed hat that seems to intensify the terror of its presence. One particularly chilling case from 2014 comes to mind. A report from a woman in Poland who witnessed a dark, hat-wearing figure standing by her bedroom door at exactly 3:33 a.m. She wasn't alone for long. Her sister, sleeping in the next room, later experienced the exact same phenomenon. The precision of the timing and the consistency between the two accounts lent an unsettling degree of credibility to the account, prompting both local authorities and researchers to take note. What's truly disturbing about shadow people is their behavior, or rather, their complete lack of it. They don't speak, move deliberately, or attack physically. Instead, they just observe, often lingering in doorways or corners, creating an atmosphere of frozen dread. Many witnesses describe an overwhelming, paralyzing fear in their presence, as if these entities are drawing nourishment not from our physical bodies, but directly from our terror. Some theorists suggest that shadow people might be a collective projection of humanity's deepest fears, the embodiment of our existential dread of the unknown. Others think they could be remnants of those dark forces we've already discussed, degenerated thought forms, or even a collective outgrowth of suppressed negative emotions. Regardless of their origin, it's clear that shadow people are not to be taken lightly. They seem to interact with us on a purely psychic level, and their mere appearance can have long-lasting psychological impacts. People who report repeated encounters with shadow people sometimes describe lingering paranoia, recurring nightmares, or even the feeling that they're constantly being watched, even during the day. Defending against shadow people, much like other astral threats, comes down to bolstering your inner light. Many experienced practitioners recommend simple yet effective strategies, such as literally turning on a light during episodes of fear. This can often force the shadowy figure to dissipate. On a deeper level, cultivating a mindset that's free from deep-rooted fear and bolstered by self-assurance is key. Tools like protective symbols, energy-clearing rituals, and even the mindful practice of maintaining a strong, positive aura can act as deterrents against these dark observers. To sum up this part of our journey through the astral plane, we've encountered beings that aren't just external demons, but living reflections of our own inner struggles. Astral vampires and shadow people are not merely fantastical inventions of lore, they're warnings. They remind us that our emotional and spiritual well-being is constantly under siege from forces that thrive in the spaces we leave unguarded. When your inner light is dim, it invites these predatory entities in, ready to feed on your energy and amplify your fears. It's a reminder that the astral plane is a mirror, an echo of our inner state. For every dark, parasitic entity that lurks in its corridors, there's a corresponding call for us to look inward, to confront our hidden emotions, and to fortify our inner defenses. Staying aware and purposeful in how we manage our emotional energy is the best protection we have against these relentless, unseen predators. As we wrap up this segment of our exploration, keep in mind that the astral realm isn't simply a repository for supernatural horrors, it's also a reflection of our inner landscape. The darkness we may encounter isn't necessarily something external trying to break in. It could very well be the manifestation of our own unhealed wounds and suppressed emotions. And by facing these shadows, both literal and metaphorical, we gain the power to reclaim our energy, our vitality, and ultimately, our freedom. Guardians and gateways, the higher order, beings of the astral realm. So far, we've journeyed through the darker corridors of the astral realm, encountering succubi, incubi, shadow people, and parasitic energy vampires. But what if I told you that not all entities in the astral world are malevolent? In fact, some are protectors, guides, watchers. These beings belong to a much higher order, guardians of hidden gateways, keepers of cosmic balance, and messengers from realms far beyond the veil. Let's begin with what many mystics call the luminous ones, beings of radiant light and immense intelligence that dwell in the higher strata of the astral plane. These aren't your garden variety spirits. They are often described as ancient intelligences, far older than humanity, operating as intermediaries between the human soul and the divine source. Some traditions refer to them as ascended masters, solar angels, or devas. Others see them as emissaries from what Theosophy calls the solar logos, the spiritual consciousness behind our very sun. These entities don't invade your dreams or hover ominously in the corner of your bedroom. No, they appear when you're ready, when your soul has reached a certain vibratory frequency through inner work, meditation, or spiritual crisis. Their presence is unmistakable, blinding light, an overwhelming sense of love, and the unmistakable feeling that you're standing in the presence of something vastly, vastly beyond yourself. One account from an experienced astral traveler describes meeting a luminous one during a deep meditation session. He reported being pulled out of his body and transported into a space that felt like the heart of a galaxy. Spirals of stars all around, vibrating with a divine hum. At the center stood a radiant being, human in shape, but composed entirely of golden light. It didn't speak, the traveler said, but it knew me. Not just who I was, but who I have always been. Encounters like these don't just awe, they transform. People who've experienced them often come back with a renewed sense of purpose, clarity, and deep inner peace. Some even bring back knowledge, sacred geometry, healing techniques, or esoteric symbols that they later see reflected in ancient texts they've never studied. This is the hallmark of a genuine astral initiation, information received directly from the source. But these luminous beings are not the only guardians. There's also a class of astral entities known simply as the Sentinels. The Sentinels don't necessarily glow. They don't speak in visions or reveal cosmic truths. Their job is simpler and more mysterious. They guard the gateways. What gateways, you ask? The astral realm is riddled with portals, transdimensional thresholds that lead to higher planes, past life memories, akashic records, or even alternate timelines. Not everyone is meant to access these doorways, not yet. And so, the Sentinels stand watch. They test those who seek entry. Some appear as robed figures, others are formless, felt only as immense pressure or presence. Their tests aren't battles, they're riddles, emotional confrontations, or moments of ego dissolution. One traveler recounted trying to enter a vast temple-like structure during an astral projection. As he approached, a dark figure appeared, not menacing, but resolute. It didn't block the path. It asked a question. What have you done with your pain? He realized in that moment that the door wasn't locked. It was simply attuned to his readiness. The Sentinel wasn't keeping him out. It was waiting for him to understand. When he answered honestly, "I'm learning to transmute it," the figure vanished and the door opened. You see, the astral plane is not just a realm of haunting illusions and malevolent predators. It's also a testing ground, a sacred arena where your soul is both tempered and revealed. Every encounter, whether terrifying or enlightening, is a mirror. Sometimes a warning, sometimes an invitation. And here's something crucial to understand. Your vibration determines your destination. If your energetic frequency is low, filled with resentment, fear, lust, or apathy, you'll sink into the lower astral, where all the dark entities we discussed earlier reside. But if you raise your frequency through spiritual practice, emotional clarity, and self-mastery, you ascend into the higher astral levels. And in those spaces, the darkness can't touch you. This is why ancient mystics and spiritual teachers emphasized purification. Not to punish you, not to moralize, but because purity of heart and intention are like spiritual passports. They're what allow you to access the upper levels of the astral, where healing, wisdom, and direct contact with divine intelligences becomes possible. And this brings us to a final, often overlooked presence in the astral realm: the double. The double, sometimes called the higher self, the solar twin, or the doppelganger of light, is not a separate being. It's you, but perfected. A being that already exists in higher dimensions, watching your incarnational journey like a parent watches their child learn to walk. During rare and profound astral experiences, some travelers report meeting their double. The experience is often life-changing. Imagine looking into a version of yourself that radiates wisdom, confidence, and love, not as a concept, but as a living, breathing reality. One woman who experienced this said, "It didn't tell me what to do, it just showed me who I already am." Meeting your double can lead to what ancient esotericists called soul remembrance. A moment where you remember your purpose, your lineage, your karmic path. It's not just mystical, it's practical. People who've undergone this often return with the sudden clarity to leave toxic jobs, forgive old wounds, or finally begin the creative work they'd buried for years. The takeaway? The astral plane is a landscape of initiation. It tests, teaches, reveals, and heals. But it never leaves you unchanged. Now that we've explored the dark and the light, the guardians and the predators, the lessons and the revelations of the astral realm, it's time to bring all this knowledge together. If the astral plane is a landscape of initiation, then it's crucial to understand how to navigate it safely, intentionally, and with purpose. This is not just about exploring otherworldly realms for the sake of curiosity or escapism. No, this is about evolution, about understanding the higher dimensions of your own soul and unlocking your full spiritual potential. Let's start with a crucial concept: intention. Before you even think about venturing into the astral world, you must first set a clear and focused intention. Why do you want to journey? What are you seeking? Is it healing, knowledge, connection with your higher self, answers to unresolved questions? Without a clear intention, you risk wandering aimlessly and encountering energies that could confuse or even harm you. When you set an intention, you are, in essence, tuning your energetic frequency to the desired plane. The clearer and purer your intention, the more direct your path will be. This is where your inner work, meditation, self-reflection, purification becomes vital. Your thoughts, emotions, and desires will shape your astral experience. A chaotic, unfocused mind can easily attract chaotic or lower frequency entities. So, take time to reflect on your deepest desires for spiritual growth. Are you seeking wisdom, healing? Do you want to connect with a particular guardian or being of light? Or are you perhaps seeking to confront and release negative emotions from your past? Whatever your goal, be specific and hold that intention firmly in your mind. While the astral plane offers the potential for profound experiences, it's also a realm where negative entities thrive. To ensure your safety, you must prepare spiritually. Here are a few key protective steps. Grounding. Before you begin any journey into the astral, you need to ground yourself. Grounding helps you maintain balance, both physically and energetically. It's like establishing a solid anchor in the material world before you journey into the intangible. Simple grounding techniques include standing or sitting, with your feet flat on the ground and focusing on your connection to the earth. Imagining roots growing from your feet into the ground like a tree. Holding onto an object that represents stability for you, such as a crystal or a stone. Shielding. Once grounded, it's time to create a protective shield around your energy body. This shield acts as a barrier against lower energies, entities, and any unwanted influences. There are many ways to shield yourself, but one of the most powerful is imagining a bubble of light surrounding you. This can be golden, white, or blue, depending on what resonates with you. Visualize this bubble expanding, encompassing your entire body, and surrounding you in a protective field of light. You can also use sacred symbols or mantras to reinforce your shield. Certain symbols, like the pentagram or the ankh, are potent in creating energetic boundaries. You can even call upon guardian angels or higher beings to assist in ensuring your protection. Now that you're prepared, intentionally focused and energetically shielded, it's time to travel. The process of conscious astral projection begins with relaxation. You must enter a deeply meditative state, allowing your body to relax fully while keeping your mind awake and aware. This is often referred to as the vibrational state. During this state, many people feel a sensation of energy pulsing through their body, or they may hear buzzing or ringing in their ears. This is a sign that you are entering the astral realm. Don't be alarmed. Simply focus on allowing your consciousness to separate from your physical body. Once separated, the key is to stay calm. Panic can bring you back to your physical body prematurely. Remember, the astral plane is vast and diverse, so trust that you are on your path and that you will encounter only what is necessary for your growth. When you feel ready to return, simply think of your physical body and imagine yourself re-entering it. You may feel a sudden rush of energy or a sensation of being pulled back, but trust the process. One of the most transformative aspects of astral travel is the opportunity to confront your own shadow self. The astral plane is a mirror. It reflects your inner world. This is why many people encounter not only higher beings of light, but also deep-seated fears, unresolved emotions, and aspects of themselves they've been avoiding. If you encounter negative entities, remember, they are a reflection of an aspect of yourself. The astral realm is not just a place to explore the cosmos, but also a place for self-exploration. If you face a terrifying entity or an overwhelming energy, rather than trying to fight it, ask yourself, what part of me is manifesting this? The truth is, we are all creators of our own reality, and this includes the astral. If you are confronted by an entity, ask yourself, what lesson does this entity offer me? How can I use this experience for my spiritual growth? Over time, as you learn to confront and release your shadows, your vibrational frequency will rise, allowing you to access higher realms of the astral. This, in turn, will allow you to connect more deeply with beings of light and wisdom. The ultimate goal of astral travel is not just to explore other realms, but to evolve. Every experience you have on the astral plane, whether joyful or challenging, is an opportunity for growth. As you continue your journeys, you'll begin to understand more about the nature of reality itself, the illusion of time and space, the connection between all things, and the immense potential within your own consciousness. The more you explore the astral world with intention, clarity, and protection, the more you will uncover your true nature, your connection to the divine, to the universe, and to the deep wisdom that resides within you. Your astral travels will no longer be just about curiosity or escapism. They will become a path of self-mastery and spiritual enlightenment. The astral realm is an expansive, complex, and profound space, and your journey through it is unique to you. Just as the physical world holds both light and shadow, so too does the astral realm. But with the right guidance, intention, and protection, you can navigate it safely and use it as a tool for personal transformation. So are you ready to embark on this journey? To explore not just other realms, but your own soul's deepest mysteries? The door is open, but only you can walk through it. Take a deep breath, set your intention, and step forward. The astral awaits.